Good evening and welcome to IBA News, coming to you from Jerusalem. Israel systematically stifles the development of Palestinian communities in the West Bank and eastern Jerusalem. That's the view of the New York-based Human Rights Watch, which is urging the United States to slash aid to Israel because of what they call blatantly discriminatory practices. The 166-page report claims that Israel fosters the growth of Jewish settlements at the expense of the Arab residents in what they describe as a vast scale of differential treatment.
Israeli officials had no immediate response to the Human Rights Watch report. However, NGO Monitor has no such hesitancy. Legal advisor Ann Herzberg joins us now in the studio. Ann, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Human Rights Watch, is it fair to say that they have an anti-Israel agenda?
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. This is just the latest report in a long practice of the Middle East and North Africa division of Human Rights Watch. In 2010, we've documented that Human Rights Watch has put out more reports on Israel than any other country, and that's a practice that's been followed by them for many years now. As another comparison, they put out a report that was supposed to document 10 years of abuses by the Syrian government, and the report was only 25 pages, as opposed to this report, which is 166 pages, and is the third such report they've issued on Israel this year alone.
The organization is calling for the United States to halt its funding to Israel. That seems like, rather than just issuing a report with the facts as they see it, that they're taking a very political stance as well in calling for something like this.
Exactly, and we see that again, that also is reflective of the biases that's found in the organization. We don't see them issuing calls for sanctions against countries like Saudi Arabia, against Syria, Iran. They seem to single out Israel for this type of treatment. And in particular, their report relies on several organizations that are active in the boycotts, divestments, and sanctions movement.
And there have been many reports over the last period that indicate Israel has been reducing restrictions on Palestinian movement, freedom in the West Bank, also been a freeze on Israeli settlement building, while the Palestinians, at least outside of Jerusalem, have been building at will. Is the HRW completely ignoring the facts on the ground when they issue these reports?
Yeah, I believe they do. They rely solely on anecdotal evidence from individual Palestinians, and they ignore the context of terror. They discount any security justifications that Israel has. The report even claimed that Palestinian growth had dropped 60% in recent years, when it's well documented that the West Bank has higher growth than even Israel or most Western countries. So again, we think that's reflective of the bias in HRW's reporting.
They obviously, when they issue a call like they did to the United States to stop funding, they have no hope of that happening. So what's behind something like this? We see that HRW, for one thing, they are aligned oftentimes with the BDS movement, and so these reports are to coincide and bolster that movement, as well as this report was coincidentally issued exactly at the same time the Arab League is seeking a UN resolution against Israel in the Security Council. And so again, we found in other instances HRW worked very closely with the Goldstone report and the Human Rights Council, and this is just another instance of them working with repressive regimes at the UN to advance an anti-Israel agenda. For some of our audience who may not be familiar with the BDS movement, what does that stand for?
So that stands for boycotts, divestments, and sanctions, and there's several non-governmental organizations that are leading that movement. And while HRW claims this is just against the settlements or the so-called occupation, the BDS movement's goal is to eliminate the state of Israel as a Jewish state.
Ann Herzberg, the NGO Legal Advisor, thanks so much for coming in and enlightening us.
Thank you.